Now then everyone, this is Ben from Casa Animalia. We're going to do an update on the green iguana that we got. As you know, if you've seen any of the other videos, I said I was going to upgrade him to a bigger cage, and I upgraded him so far that I put him outside and he got out, and it took me 3 weeks to catch him. So this was what we came up with in between, and I'll walk you through it, and it's something that anybody can do, and if you're really young you might need some help with this, but at the same time most people can do it. I'm no carpenter, I have no special tools. This cost me about €30 to make. So let's jump into it, and I'll let you know a little bit about some of the stuff I used and how I made it. Okay, so this was actually made out of an old wardrobe. As I said at the beginning, I have no special tools or anything like that, and most people could come up with something like this if they've got some wood lying around. Rather than throw it, reuse it. This is a 90cm tall by 48 deep. I can't remember the width of it now. It's about 8 centimeters wide. So fair size cage. As you can see, he's up on the actual back wall of the cage. I completely sort of 3D textured the whole of the cage inside, waterproof the base. You see, if you've seen my photo on Instagram, he has destroyed some of the plants, but only the pothole vines, so no big deal. But basically I used a special adhesive cement that's used for porcelain tiles to create the texture, which I just did with my hand, with my fingers. You can kind of see that on the background. I then cut some pieces of vine that were already dead and dry off a large plant we have outside and incorporated them into it. And he can use all surfaces in here. He climbs everything. The mesh again was spray painted black, as was the top and the side panels. It just makes it easier for viewing. The paint on the inside is an acrylic based paint that it's one of those like AAA paints that doesn't use sort of chemicals and doesn't release fumes and stuff like that. Acrylic tends to be safe to use anyway, but once I'd done everything, the actual wood itself is treated with a proper wood stain, but then after being allowed to dry for a few weeks, that was then everything was sprayed with 3 coats of an acrylic varnish, just to give it that protection. Over time I'm sure he'll chip some of the paint off the mesh and what have you, but generally this should last for quite a long time. I did exactly the same on the outside. We just sanded down, filled all the holes that were there originally, added new brackets, disguised them underneath the adhesive and painted it. Sealing job not fantastic, but the rest of it I think looks pretty cool. And this should see him through now until the spring, at which point he will be moved again to his outdoor enclosure. And again, if you have a look on that, I disappeared for a few weeks in between videos. I don't upload loads, but at the same time I disappeared because I couldn't catch the bugger. And he spent 3 weeks out in the garden, so the next video will be kind of the taming update, because he's basically reversed tenfold. He's worse than before I first got him. Basically he is wild, because he spent 3 weeks running around a large garden, ponds, you name it. He loved it, I'm sure, but of course it does get cold here in southern Spain eventually, and he wouldn't have survived the winter, and I was very pleased to get him back. So the minute I did, I put him back into his 60 by 45 by 45 enclosure, whilst I carried on working on this to bring him indoors for the winter. But yeah, no, it's worked out quite well. I'm chuffed with it, to be honest with you. Took me a few weekends to do it because I've been working and what have you, but it was worth the effort and the extra painting and the spraying and the extra coats of protection. But we just wanted to bring you an update on him. He looks kind of pretty chilled out up there right now, but I tell you, when I got to get hold of him, it's not even day one. It's like minus day 10. So I'm kind of starting, like I say, from not even from scratch. What I have done since he's moved into this bigger cage, I explained this in an earlier video, he already had a large heating element, which is a ceramic heater, and that's 250 watt. It was way too big for the cage he was in, but with a thermostat was able to regulate that, knowing that I would need it on a larger cage coming up. The one change that I have done is his actual UVB lighting, and I did explain this again earlier. He was able to get in very close proximity with his UV bulb in the smaller cage, so we had a 5.0 UVB UVA bulb in there. I've upped this to a 10.0. Though recommended for a desert species, iguanas need the UV. So it is a more powerful bulb. I wasn't sure I was going to be happy with the actual light it put out at first, but I think it's pretty cool. And the colour green we used was actually an Amazon green, and it's worked really well. I thought it was a bit bright at first, but actually once you see him in there, he's pretty happy. We've just done, the base is basically made up of a cheap non-fertilised compost and wood chippings, and then just some decorative stones. Nice piece of cork back there. He can get under it if he wants. He doesn't, as you can imagine. He's got all this space to climb, and that's where iguanas like to be, and the higher they are, the safer they feel. So he can get right up to the top if he needs to. But again, the good thing with doing it this way is that it's not just 90 by 40 odd by 80, it's the entire cage is usable for him, not just the branches but all sides. So you really do give them a good opportunity to actually exercise and use the claws for what they're meant to be used for. I don't know if you can see that, but yeah, his habitats at the back, little red light you can see. And we have him up again, so sort of 34 in there from the midday for a few hours, and then drop him down overnight to about 22, and he moves up top and sleeps where he should do. So yeah, all in all, like I say, really cheap to build. This cost me about €30 in the end, between a few bits of wood, locks and what have you, and paint mainly. And yeah, like I say, waterproof the bay. The actual base itself is waterproof. All the edges and all the base were pre-siliconed, and then I fit a plastic liner in on the base as well, just to be on the safe side. When I'm watering, it's not going to damage the wood. So yeah, there you go, there's the update. Hope you find this sort of fairly useful for people keeping iguanas indoors. It's difficult sometimes, and it gets expensive when you move into big sort of cages and whatnot. But this really is something that anybody can do. This was done using a handsaw, a drill, some paints, and a bit of ingenuity, and that was it. So as you can see, he's quite happy up there today. He's been all over the place. He has been digging, but adventurously, not like boredom, because he's got stuff to do in here. And as I say, we'll come back soon. We'll get back on the taming with him and see if we can progress from where we left off. Now we've seen him, let's quickly skip over to the other reptile in the room. Another little update there. I think I've only posted this one on Instagram, but let's jump over and have a look at the other reptiles in this room. Okay, so here we are at the the tank where we've got the Reeves turtles. Now it is really a fish tank, but there is lots of climbing they can do. They do have a floating log up here that they can get out on. Just so that focus, in fact one of them's just taking a little breather up there. There he is. Now I found with these guys that they are mainly aquatic as youngsters, even though they come out onto the land a lot more later on in life. But just thought I'd give you a little update of the tanks that have been moved around and who we've made space for. I did have the turtles in a 200 litre with loads of land area and they just didn't use it at all, so I thought, well, they can enjoy this space. As you can see under there, a Synodontis cat, had him for years now. It's really struggling to focus. Hidden away in a cave back there is my old Pleco. Had him for just over 16 years now. But yeah, really, just thought you'd check these guys out. They're looking brilliant. We were giving them by a pet shop just about 3 months, 3-4 months ago now, and they've just grown ridiculously. And as I say, these guys do become more terrestrial as they get older, but as you can see, they're more than happy under the water. They are actually good swimmers, for saying that they do spend a lot of time on land later on in life. There's quite a lot of water movement in here and these guys have no problem with it. They are really strong little turtles actually, so yeah, and as you can see they're sharing their own variety of fish, no problem at all. They were brought up with a few goldfish. Came in on plants out the pond, they grew up in there from fry with them, no problem at all. I find that turtles get bored of trying to catch fish after about 3 minutes and don't tend to go back to them. There's one of the other occupants, you might have seen him on some of the other videos. Yeah. We did just an introduction of these guys, but I never shown the tank, but now yeah, so now that we've brought them down, we thought we might as well do a little update on them. Why it's not focusing that, as quick as he's on one. This is just some miscellaneous kind of leftover fish from projects in the past, to be honest. All the clown loaches are hiding out still because they've only been in here for about 2 weeks. They're still getting used to it. Little mosquito fish there, use a rescue. My little boy's last guppy. I got sick of doing water changes on a small tank, so we moved them in. But yeah, the puffers I did add to it because I've wanted them for a little while and they've not been in the list that often. And though they're supposed to be a brackish species, so far they're doing really well in sort of average water really. It's about 7.5 the pH, but it does have quite a good mineral content. And the stabi, the corridor stabi, they've adjusted no problem from they used to be in with discus and RO water. But yeah, just a little update. These guys up here I'm after getting some more of now again. Again, just don't appear in the list very often. But they're the African freshwater butterfly fish, very cool. But yeah, just sort of show you one of the other reptiles that we've got going on in here. Obviously they're too small yet to go in the pond. They'll go in the pond next year with the yellow-bellied sliders. And we'll do something on that as well for you, because that is looking pretty cool now. Just not got round to actually doing a video on them. But yeah, these guys are ace anyway. And as you can see, more than happy. Fed on bloodworm, brine shrimp, mysis shrimp, chopped up fresh prawns, mussels, and then they do get a bit of flake food and sometimes some pelleted food as well. But they're just snacks really, it's mainly frozen and fresh food for these guys. Same as the marine tank, we won't go into that one today. Quick glance at everybody, just had some algae, everyone's doing well in there. So yeah, there you go. The other reptile in the room. Cool. Ace turtles, great character, very confident. I'd recommend these as pets, to be honest, above the yellow-bellied sliders, because they don't get quite so big. And again, I mean, long term you'd want to have them with a basking lamp and UV and all the rest of it. I will have a UV T5 fitted at the back in the next few days for them, where they'll be able to come out under it, but basking I'm not going to do in this one because it's oh god, there you go, because it's a heated tank anyway. We keep this at 25.5 and it doesn't drop below 24.5, so it's everybody's pretty happy with that temp. Alright guys, that's the updates for today. If you found this video useful, please give a thumbs up, subscribe. We're going to be doing lots more stuff bit by bit. We're looking for our own property at the minute, so we'll be doing other projects. We've always got stuff on the go here. I do rescue quite a few animals. Used to work in a pet shop for a long time, so I'm used to helping people out. But if you've got anything you want to know, or a video that you'd like me to do, or other animals that you might be interested in, have questions on, please stick it down in the comments, like, subscribe and keep your eye out, because we'll be back with more. Cheers for now, bye. There he is, chowing down on bloodworm. Happy turtles.